Okay, so today I'm bringing you a traditional gouache time lapse. Today I'm making what I'm calling super Pokemon cards. Essentially, I'm just taking a page from my watercolor pad and trying to replicate a Pokemon card. Today it's a Quagsire card. I was looking around trying to figure out, like, what am I gonna draw next? I saw that card and realized, hey, my watercolor pad kind of looks like a card. I bet I could make a big Pokemon card. And so that's what I'm doing today. I gotta say, it was a challenge. I'm not great at small details, and Pokemon cards have like a ton of small details. As I was studying the card, I kept finding more and more like tiny words and tiny, specifications they put on the card probably for the actual card game. I've never played the card game. I don't even collect Pokemon cards, but I know people who do, and Pokemon has like a special place in my heart, more for the games than anything else. I don't really watch the animes, I haven't watched the movies in a very long time, and I don't collect the Pokemon cards. But I really like the Pokemon games from nostalgia of playing them on my 3DS. But even then, I haven't really played a Pokemon game since Pokemon Omega Sun. So I gotta say, even in that regard, I am not like a Pokemon aficionado. So I gotta say, this is my second time using gouache. My first time didn't go so well. Had so many struggles. But this time around, I went into it with a lot more knowledge because I watched a lot more time lapses on YouTube, tutorials, tips and tricks for the medium. I went into it with more research than just kind of sitting down and being like, I bet I could use this medium, even though I've never used it before. And I gotta say, I was a lot more confident going into it. I used a lot of like wet on wet. I also used dry on wet, I think it is. I really liked using gouache because I could either get a watercolor like wash like I did on the sunset in the back there, or I could get an opaque flat surface like I am with those cliffs in the back there. So I was really thrilled to be able to use both of those different type of methods and the looks I was getting. I am used to acrylic paint. That was like the paint my go-to paint for a while there. But I never really liked it. It dries really fast. It's would always like playing with texture with it was fun, but I could tell that it was a paint that I wouldn't be too happy using in the long run. And watercolor is just really hard for me to get a grasp on. I stuck my finger in the wet paint by accident. That's like a big problem I have with paint. That's why I used acrylic for so long, because it dried fast, quote unquote, but I would layer it on so thick that it wouldn't dry fast. And watercolor, I use so much water that it doesn't dry, and I always end up making like super crucial mistakes. And it's just a big mess. So, gouache, I feel like it's like known as the middle ground, and it does dry fairly fast. And I've also gotten used to working in really small areas, so I don't end up sticking my hand in a wet part, or, working in smaller areas means it dries faster. It was definitely the easiest time I've had using paint. Paint is a medium that really tests my patience, which I have so little of anyways. So I always end up having these big errors, but that's why I'm really pushing myself to do traditional art more often. I almost exclusively worked in digital art for the last few years, and that has, I felt like, really held me back because it's made my methods so rigid. And art's not supposed to be something that's rigid. You're supposed to go with the flow. You're supposed to, like, there is supposed to be structure to it, yes, but it's also supposed to be fun. And the way I was going about it took out the fun of it. So right now I'm kind of in this stage where I'm rediscovering what mediums I like to use, what methods I like to use. I'm trying to figure out, have more fun with more fan art, not focus so much on original content and original characters. It's been really helpful. Traditional art is also helpful in the way that it's forcing me to embrace imperfections and mistakes, because I'm so not used to it, and I can't just like control Z my way out of a mistake. I have to improvise, and I have to figure out, can I just like pat the paint away? Do I have to paint over it? Do I have to erase it, restart it, sometimes even grab a new piece of paper? Not in this case, thankfully, but it really challenges me, and I think that's really important when you're drawing, is to challenge yourself, not to the point of frustration, but challenging yourself just so that you can grow and learn, because in my case especially, I learned through experience the best. Already saw such improvement between this and my very first attempt at gouache that I can already tell, like, the next time I sit down and try to use gouache, I feel like it's gonna be a lot better, and it's gonna be like I learned the lessons necessary so that the next time I use the medium, I'm not gonna make as many mistakes. I feel like I'm gonna be more patient, I'm gonna let the paint dry more, I'm gonna hopefully work. I want to get better with mixing with colors, to be honest, and I want to get better about remembering to put water to get wet washes, because that was one big thing where I kept forgetting to add water to like mix colors together and get like that watercolory effect, because I just wanted to use the pigment straight out of I have a jelly gouache set, so you know those little like plastic bits, those little plastic bins of pigment and paint you get. I keep just wanting to use it straight out of that, but it always ends up drying slower, and I don't apply it in a nice, like, if it's not the look you're going for, like an opaque flat look, it's not what you want. So I want to remember to use water more, and I want to get better with my brush work. I'm not the most confident in my brush work yet. I'm a very shaky person. And my hand coordination just isn't the best. I rely on stabilization a lot in digital art programs, so when I transition to traditional art like this, I always end up having very shaky lines, very unconfident lines. And between painting and my traditional ink work, I really want to get better at getting those clean, confident lines that you want when you are trying to get a crisp edge. There's a lot of, like, when I'm doing these little silver arrows at the bottom, that the lines aren't straight, you know, so it ends up having the details look very clunky, very wobbly, and it's just not ideal. I also kind of have the issue where the paint on the border there, the yellow border on the card, was not fully dry. So the orange of the inside of the card ended up leaking into it, so it took away that crisp border edge that I was trying to go for. I think I finished it later, but I gotta say, it was super hard. It was really difficult. Like, it's one of those things that it's another thing that I need to work on in my traditional art, and I really hope to get better at it as I go forward. I think one of my biggest challenges in this was rendering the water. It was so hard for me. I couldn't get the shadows or highlights to work. The water in the card is more of a like seafoam kind of green rather than like a blue, so trying to figure out what colors to use was hard. I think one of my biggest issues, I fixed it later, but I didn't use dark enough colors for shading. That was one big issue that I kept having, was I wasn't going dark enough in my shading values, so everything would look very flat. And I would be trying to use funky colors for highlights, and between the highlights and midtones, there just wasn't, it just kept ended up looking muddy, and I just didn't like it. Like, the mountains didn't look that great until I went in with a darker shadow, and I think even from here, I completely repaint over them just to get started anew again, because I wanted like a fresh blank slate to look at. Also, can you tell this is my first time doing a voiceover? I can. It's out of my comfort zone. A lot of this was out of my comfort zone. That's kind of the whole meaning of the whole rant. I know a lot of what I just said was like what I think I did wrong, what I think I want to do better and stuff like that, but I'm at a stage where I'm relearning a lot of the art fundamentals, and I'm going over them again because Art's been tough. I used to be able to draw so like effortlessly, but for the last few years it's been everything is so it feels like so much work than it is. And so I'm revisiting a lot of fundamentals because I feel like my skills regressed, and I'm also expanding into territory that I'm unfamiliar with. So I know a lot of this video has been me like trying to analyze, you know, things I want to do better next time, because it's important to know not only what you think you did good, but what you think you need to do better next time. For example, I think honestly, the final piece is fine for being my second attempt at the paint. I feel like I did good. I did good in like the wash of the orange of the card, in the gradient and the sunset, and even Quagsire himself, you know, the king himself. I feel like I drew him quite well. I don't draw Pokemon often, and I know he's pretty simple. He's just like a bunch of circles and ovals shape-wise, but it was a lot of fun. And at the end of the day, even as much as I was pointing out that I feel like I could have done better, I'm happy with the end result, and I honestly would love to do more of these Super Pokemon cards, as well as do more voiceovers. Have no idea if I want to proceed in the future using a script more, or if I should just ramble into the microphone. I know like a lot of what I'm saying and my points are a bit unstructured. If you guys don't really mind that, then I'll continue on with it. So let me know if you guys want to see more of these Pokemon cards. You know, I feel like it's a good way to get inspiration and also study other people's art and their styles. It's also translating from a digital art to gouache, because Pokemon cards, they're printed. They're made digitally. The art is usually digital too. So this is going into taking a digital medium into gouache and hand painting it, writing it. You know, I make a bunch of errors, especially when I go to like write in the text of the moves that the Pokemon has. I mess up on the lettering and I don't leave enough room for the damage it does. So I kind of just leave it blank, and there's a lot of details that I do omit in the end. I also had an issue where I went in with my microns and they don't go over gouache, man. It was really tough, and when I went in with black, I feel like black was not the right choice besides for lettering, because I try to outline like the silver arrows in certain boxes in black. I just don't like the look. It's too harsh. So next time I feel like I'm gonna go with a different color, and I'm gonna only use black for the text, and I'm gonna have to figure out either lettering with a brush and gouache, or what marker I can use to do lettering in the future. Because like some of them worked, but some of them wouldn't go over the paint at all, and it was dry, so I have no idea what the issue was. I also kind of think I might just not like fine liners with gouache, like the look of it. So maybe I do colored line work in the future, I'm thinking. Definitely. I think it was a success. You know I sat here analyzing all the things that I think I want to do better, but I'm kind of at that phase with the medium right now. So I hope that it's not too much of a bummer to listen to, because I am so much in a learning stage with honestly so much of like from gouache to just doing traditional art again, getting used to watercolor paper. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoyed watching Quagsire become a big boy. And if you want to see more of the Supercard time lapses, if you want this to become a series, let me know in the comments. And let me know if you guys like the analyst voiceover, or if there's another style of voiceover you think I should try. I really don't know what to do, and it's so new to me. So just let me know, and I'll listen to suggestions. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye!